When I look back at the men I chose to love, it's clear now. I wasn't choosing with my heart. I was choosing with my trauma. I was a dismissive, avoidant attachment style woman who had no clue of what a healthy, secured attachment style of loving was. Welcome, my loves, to the Hardened and Healed Podcast. Hey, loves, I'm home. All right, come on and sit on down. Hey, loves, thank you so much for having me back into your home for another episode of Hardened and Healed. I am your healologist, London, and of course, I am here to make sure that we are all getting over to the other side. Now, previously, in my previous episodes, I've spoken about taking the attachment style assessment test. This is very, very, very important. I'm going to open up every episode about this because it is such a game changer for individuals wanting to be healed, but not understanding the root cause of all their brokenness. But this is going to give you an idea of not only how you handle conflict in relationships, but what it stems from. And we're going to go right to the core of it. Childhood, whether it was intrautero, in the womb, right before birth, right after birth, but who we are as adults is directly connected to who we were and what we experienced as children. We're going to jump right into it. Oh, wait, where do you think you're going without hitting that subscribe button? And hey, you haven't even taken your attachment style assessment test. That's right. There's an assessment test for you to take, but no worries. It's only 5 minutes. I know you have 5 minutes, just like you have that 1 second to hit that subscribe button. Now, if you haven't seen the previous episodes of the Hardened and Healed podcast, where I explain what an attachment style test is, you're in luck today. It is basically a specific questionnaire that asks questions to determine whether you are secured emotionally or unsecured. Now, when I say unsecure, I don't mean insecure. There's a difference. Trust me. But knowing your emotional status is very important. Just as important as taking care of your mental health. Now, if you don't know where those tests are, no worries. I'm going to link that in the description box below. I'll put about 4 links there. You can choose one of them. Or hell, you can do them all. They all can't be wrong, right? Once you determine what your attachment style is, please be sure to comment it in the comment section. I would love to know. Hey, so get to testing and good luck. Now that we've had that service announcement, let's just jump right into it. So previously, on the last episode, I spoke about childhood trauma and how it affected my very early dating life. You may experience this as well or have experienced this as well, where you realize that sometime in maybe middle school or high school, you were coming in kind of hot, or you may have been withdrawn and very reserved. You may have been socially awkward. A lot of that, again, is directly connected to your childhood. So let's say, for an example, maybe you had a crush on a guy, but like you refused to make eye contact. It could be a host of things. It could just be that you're shy, or maybe there were things that were said to you during your childhood, like don't be fast, don't be hot, stay out of boys' faces. Why you always playing with boys? You're always looking at boys. So now, you have that plaguing you in the back of your mind. And so you're more conscientious of how you interact with the opposite sex. So you don't make contact. You don't make eye contact. You don't be expressive or really speak too much. You get clammy, you get uncomfortable. Or it may be the complete opposite. It may be someone told you that you were fast and hot, and maybe there was something that caused that, or maybe not, but you took them up on that offer. Like, well, hell, they already think I'm fast and hot. I like what I like. I like little boys like me. It is what it is. And maybe you're not shy. Maybe you initiate, right? Maybe you let the boy know you like him. Maybe you're sending the letters. But again, it's going to be based on your childhood, simply because the first relationships that you have are within the home. So whether you see a mother and father, whether you see a grandmother and grandfather, you might see an auntie with her husband or uncle with his wife, neighbors that are around you, and then also just how you interact with your own siblings. You may or may not get along with the siblings of the opposite sex. Maybe you absolutely love your brother, and because you love him, you think all guys are great. maybe you hate your brother, and because he's a male, you hate all males. So these experiences do make a difference. For me, it was very impactful because I did not grow up with siblings in the home, and I did not grow up with a father in the home. So as far as male interactions, the only interactions I really had was with my cousins. So when I went over there, one was on age with me, one was younger, and then I had a female cousin that was on age with me. And so the four of us hung out. We had a really good time, didn't have any bad experiences. But I do remember outside, like playing, and in New York, you played in the streets, so to speak, like on the sidewalk and stuff like that. You didn't always necessarily go to the park. You played on the block. And so there would be a lot of boys out there. Now, I've always kind of gravitated to the girls. We would play jump rope and hopscotch and do little cheers. But every now and again, if we did things like hide and go see or Mother May, I know I'm telling my age for sure at this point. But with those particular games, it would be both sexes playing it, or Steal the Bacon. Do y'all remember Steal the Bacon? If you're not old enough to know the game Steal the Bacon, you're missing out. But anyway, when boys would crush on me, it would make me a little uncomfortable. Even if I liked them, I would deny being their girlfriend. I would not be in a space with them by myself. If they talked to me, I would run off or something of that sort. And I definitely came up from a time where my mom would be describing other little kids as, that little one is hot. That one is fast. That one, I know she going, whatever the case may be when she gets older. And so because I thought so highly of my mom and what my mom thought of me, there's no way I can exercise those types of behaviors. And so it went from adolescent, like on the playground, to middle school, to even high school, where it just was, the attraction was always there, but there was a lot of conflict between what was decent and in order and respectful, and what was just rambunctious and hot and fast. And so when you're in that realm, you have to pick a side, right? You can't be both. So you're either going to be the tomboy or the girly girl. And so I chose tomboy. It was safe. I knew I wasn't going to have any issues with my mom. And it just allowed me to like boys from afar. But it definitely made getting to know me difficult. And if any of y'all are out there, which I hope y'all not watching, but if y'all are watching and I made getting to know me or dating me difficult, I'm sorry. And I'm speaking on behalf of all the women that did that same thing and probably still do. We're sorry. We were dismissive, avoidant style attachment women, young girls. We didn't even know. So just to go a little bit more in depth about that particular personality, because I know where I ended the last time, I was speaking about one of the very first serious relationships that I had. But back to the childhood of things, I was the only child, so there wasn't a whole lot of opposite sex interaction except for like on the playground. But also too, it made me very, I don't want to say closed off, because I am definitely an extrovert. I like people. I like hanging out. But that initial get to know you, yeah, there were like walls. Tons and tons and tons of walls. So even if you were very harmless, you probably couldn't really get far unless you kept it very, very platonic. I was always open to platonic relationships, but anything like crushes or girlfriend, boyfriend, or just anything romantic, it was a little cringy. So much so that movies cringe. You know what movies I hated coming up? I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Love Jones, I hated it. Brown Sugar, I hated it. Love and Basketball, I hated it. And what did all these movies have in common? The girls were usually tough. And I would be looking at them and they're acting exactly the way I would be acting. Hard to get, not interested, unbothered. And I'd be like, just cut her off. Just cut her off. Like, the guy is trying. She's not letting him in. Not knowing that I'm looking at me. I would totally respond the way those characters did. And I would just be so frustrated. Like, just tell him you like him. Like, what's the big deal? Knowing good and well, I would never do such a thing. Tell a guy I like him. And first, not happening. But I hated those movies. I hated when the guy would kind of give up and then he would find somebody else, and then the original star would be upset and be heartbroken. I'm like, well, you pushed him away. Like, he tried, you didn't want it. It is what it is. And then I would hate when they get back together, because then it was all mushy and lovey-dovey. And now my issue is with him being touchy-feely and trying to be romantic. And, oh, please, men don't do that. Guys don't do that. Like, when I tell you I was on an emotional roller coaster, I absolutely was. And what's so difficult about that is everything that you want, you despise and you push away. It is the most juxtaposition you could possibly be in and still try to be happy. Now, I was very happy with my peers. It just was my partners that just wasn't working. I was very happy with my parent. It just was my partners that wasn't working. But you just kind of adapt to it, right? You just kind of survive through it. You know that relationships are not going to last long because somebody is going to trigger you. They're going to hit that little button and you're going to be like, yeah, this guy is not for me. And it don't have to be something drastic. Let me say that. Y'all know who y'all are out there. Y'all dismissive avoidance. Y'all know exactly who y'all are. Y'all know how y'all behave. And I'm going to be honest. Okay, so let me give y'all real tea. How did I find out that I was a dismissive avoidant? Because I was trying to figure out who my husband was. I was like, I can't figure this dude out. Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not who I thought he was when I married him. And this kind of goes into that whole marrying someone's potential. And people tell you often not to do that. I agree to some extent, because potentially who you are and who you are in that present moment, of course, are two different people. And the potential only matters if someone wants to exercise that potential. If they are okay with who they are in that moment, the potential goes out the window. You know what I mean? It's like, say, for instance, you were a math student and you were really good in math, but actually you were very crafty and you want to build furniture. That just came because I just watched How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Yeah. But anyway, let's just say you wanted to be a builder. You want to build furniture or repurpose furniture and things of that sort. But you were very good in math and your parents thought you were going to be an engineer. And that didn't happen. Why? One is because though you have the potential to be an engineer, that's not really where you want to be. That's not what you want to do. And so if someone met you and they talked to that brainy side of you and not the artsy side, and they fell in love with that brainy side, like how well you were in math and with numbers and, you know, just how you engineer things, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the person for me. But really who you are to your core is usually that artsy, crafty side. And usually people aren't both. So like you're usually more one or the other. Some people are well-rounded. I'd like to think that I am. But they could be honing in on that engineer in you, that brainiac, while you're over here being just chill and mellow and artsy. And, you know, nothing is that serious. And there's a divide there. There's a divide between who they see in you and who you actually are. That makes a huge difference. So when you're potentially picking a partner, right, there are the things that you see for your future, and then there are the things that you see in your present. So it's very hard when people say, well, don't marry somebody's potential. I think that works if they're not aiming at that potential, if they're not in pursuit of that potential. If they are going in another direction or in no direction at all, I think it's safe to say don't tap into that. They have to kind of already be on the road to where it is that you're trying to go. And when you're a lot younger, you don't know that. Or what happens is you love the person that they are present day, and then they morph into someone else, right? They grow into themselves. They start to mature. They don't like the same things anymore. They don't do the same things. And you're like, this is not who I married. So I say all that to say, when I met my husband, I think I had a little bit of both going on. I was very aware of who he was in that moment. That guy I really didn't like. I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm going to just be frank. I didn't like him. I didn't like how cutthroat he was. How just kind of straight to the point. There was kind of like no bending, no folding, not a lot of room for negotiation. But what happened was I trauma bonded with him because I knew all of that was a wall. How did I know that? Because I had walls of my own. So when I saw the walls, I was like, oh, all this other stuff that I'm seeing that I don't really care for is only because this wall is up. So once the wall comes down, I'm going to get to the meat and potatoes. I'm going to get to the guy that I know he really is. And I'm going to fall in love with that guy. And nothing could be further than the truth. Because those walls, I would say, when a person has walls up intentionally, there's more leverage to remove them. When a person has walls up unintentionally, baby, let me tell you something. You're going to have a challenge on your hands. And I only know this because this has definitely been who I was. And when I was seeing the behavior in my husband, because I felt like my walls had come down. Not all of them when I first met him. So because he had walls, I had walls, this worked. He didn't push beyond my boundaries and I didn't push beyond his, right? So we're talking about two dismissive people. That works. I dismiss you, you dismiss me. We dismiss each other. It just worked until it didn't. Because as I began to heal, I didn't want to be dismissed and I didn't want to dismiss him. So that made a difference. That changed the whole dynamic, because something that he had been doing all his life, I won't say that it worked for him because I had been doing it all my life and it really didn't work for me, but it protected us. And so we were still in a space of needing to protect ourselves from any hurt, harm, or danger. We didn't have that. You know, some people they throw caution to the wind. You know, some people say, oh, they just love hard. It don't take them long. Yeah, we weren't those people at all. And it's a challenge. Relationships are a challenge by itself. But when you have certain unsecure attachment styles like anxious, fearful, avoidant, or dismissive avoidant, it makes it a lot more difficult. And that it did. So anyhow, I will say, I just at some point was like, I can't get to the core of this guy. Something is going on. I need to know who I'm dealing with. And what's so crazy is I prayed about the relationship with my husband more than any relationship I had ever been in. And I'm talking about from the very beginning until where we are right now today. Like I stayed in prayer. And God just kept willing me to move forward. And I was just like, with this guy? But he does this. And he says that. And he's this. And he's that. And God was like, he's you. Like, yeah, he's you. So how did you want somebody to handle you? And I'm like, well, that's different. You know, I'm a woman and, you know, and the Lord was like, it's all the same. Like, yeah, no. So give the grace that you wanted. Give the patience that you wanted. Give the time that you needed and make it work. Yeah, no. It was a no for me on so many occasions. So many occasions. But the more I began to heal and the more I saw myself, the more I realized that this wasn't about my husband. This was about me. This wasn't about changes that I needed him to make. This was about changes that I needed to make. Changes that I needed to make and stick with. This was about re-identifying myself. This was about not being a dismissive avoidant and becoming a healed and healthy woman, wife, mother, because in the healing, it would allow me to have better relationships overall. So while I might have been relationship focused on more of the more intimate relationships, this was going to give me better friendships, better relationships with my mom, my siblings, my family, just peers in general, but being a better boss, a better coworker. It became quite evident that my husband was here to agitate a wound that I had covered, that I hadn't healed from, but that I had covered. And he was just there to keep pulling that Band-Aid off. Every time I put the Band-Aid off, he would rip that Band-Aid off. I'm getting upset talking about it right now. But anyway, but the childhood part of this whole scenario was, I am now an adult trying to protect the child in me that had not healed. The adult in me felt like I was fine. Like, I got this thing under wraps. Let me tell you something. You don't deal with this. You don't deal with that. You stand behind this. You stand behind that. And the child in me was just so confused, because it was like, if you do all of that, you're not going to find love. You're not going to keep love. You're not going to have love. You're not even going to know love. So we sometimes have to listen to that inner child in us. And that's who we really ultimately have to work on. When I got to the point of questioning my husband, like, gosh, like, is he a narcissist? Is he bipolar? Like, what is going on with this dude? Because there was just an influx of emotion on his end, and I was trying to calibrate myself. And I was just like, I can't even figure where I am, because I don't know where the hell he at. Like, it was just like this teeter-totter type thing. And so in searching for answers for him, I found answers for myself. And y'all, it was like like literally the light bulb went off. Now, in knowing and finding out and reading this dismissive avoidant, I go, this is him, this is him. And I'm reading. I go, this is me. This is me. As great as the epiphany was, it was equally crushing, because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. This is how I have treated those before him. This is how I've entered into relationships. And I thought that they were going to work. You don't understand it until you're on the receiving end. When you're dishing it out of protection, it seems okay. It seems like the thing to do. And nobody could tell you otherwise. But when you really read it, and then you understand that this is what you're asking someone who hopefully is healthy, who is secure to deal with, who would? The person that's going to deal with you while you're unhealthy and toxic and unsecure is someone else who is toxic and unsecure. Now, they may not be the same counterpart as you. For instance, my husband and I, they may be the polar opposite. Which brings me to the second relationship that I had. So I had decided at this point, so right after the relationship with the anxious style attachment person, I entered into a relationship with, I'm not sure really what he was. He probably was, I don't even know, maybe a fearful avoidant. Maybe he was secure. I don't know. But we didn't work because of who I was. And all the behaviors he had triggered who I was. So I was very cold, very shut off. I was emotionally gone, but physically I was there. Mentally I was there. But there was a void of emotion. And so I was dealing with someone who had a void of emotion from his mom. So a lot of times void of emotion is really, if you think about it, rejection. So while you're saying, oh yeah, I'll be your woman, oh yeah, I'll be your man, but everything that you do comes off in a rejecting way, it just, the person doesn't gravitate to that. In fact, it confuses them. So when I dated again after that person, the narcissist, he didn't stand a chance. I didn't know he didn't stand a chance, but he very early on, I think, kind of knew it. And I think it was different for him because narcissists are very convincing. They're very manipulative. They have the gift of gab. They're fast talking. They'll pull the wool over your eyes. They'll make you think something that you know does not exist or that is not happening. And because I was a dismissive avoidant, and had so many walls up, he could never really get in. So being a dismissive avoidant in that moment in time was my blessing. Absolutely my blessing. It was so crazy though, because I feel like I went in not looking for a serious relationship. He was just like a rebound. So, with a rebound, you don't take him serious. And a lot of times people fall in love with the rebound, and that's where they mess up. Well, yeah, I couldn't. Because at that time, I really wasn't looking for anything serious. I was just looking for something to get over the hump. I guess that's the best way to put it, at that moment in time. And oftentimes we do that. We substitute what we really want and what we're looking for who makes themselves available. And then somewhere in that process, you realize that you're really not fond of that person. But you just kind of make it work because it serves some purposes, whether it's companionship, whether it's sex, whether it's money, whether it's time. Like, it may not be the full package, but there's something in there that you're drawn to. So you're like, okay, I'll kick it for whatever it is. I'm bored or I'm lonely. And so you commit to it. And usually it becomes to your demise. It really does. But for me with this narcissist, I just saw it for what it was. Like right out the gate, I was like, this guy's trying to get over. Like, he's not sincere. I can tell he's not loyal. He's not thorough. Yeah. And what happened was he moved in so quickly. So I'm really going to make y'all laugh about this. Or actually, for some, it might make you cry. I hope if this has happened to you, I hope that you got out and you ran. But we started dating. So not in an official relationship, but we started dating. I want to say maybe the end of January. Like, so for the new year, I had sworn off men. I don't have nothing to do with men. I'm burnt out. I'm tired of them. And this was probably after my second relationship. I'm already burnt out, right? Second relationship from high school to adulthood. But I'm already burnt out. I'm just going to hang. I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to kick it with guys. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want nothing serious. It is what it is. So this guy kind of came in at a time where I wasn't looking for a commitment. So it made it okay. And in retrospect, it wasn't okay. But, at that age, your early 20s, 21, 22, it's like, oh, okay, well, we just hanging, we having a good time. It is what it is. I'm not looking for anything serious. And so I want to say around April, he borrowed my vehicle. Let me tell you these freaking narcissists, bruh, sis. So, like I said, we started, well, he attempted to date me the year prior. And he was kind of just straight to the point. We chatted on the phone a couple of nights and stuff. And he says, why don't you come by, come visit me, come see me. And this was a little weird for me because I was like, damn, he didn't ask me out. He didn't ask me to a movie. He didn't ask me out to dinner. And then I said, oh, well, maybe this is how it is. When you're not looking for anything serious, you don't have to do all that courting, right? You're just going to kind of hang out. Don't ask me what I thought was supposed to happen. But I went. So I went over there and he started talking. He started smoking. He's like, you want? I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. And then I realized he didn't really have nothing to talk about. And then for him, it was all of a sudden like, yeah, well, it's getting late. So you want to, take your clothes off and lay down? What? Who does that? Apparently there are women who do that. But for me, after the first person I've been with, what are you talking about? Do what? Absolutely not. I was like, yeah, no, go ahead and call me a cab. What are you talking about? He's like, we're adults here. Like, are you serious? Like, you act like you need permission. You can lay in my bed, we can cuddle. If something happened, it happened. If it don't, I was like, I can guarantee it's not going to happen. And he's like, wow. It's like, damn, not even a dinner and a movie. And so he says to me, oh, you played yourself. Like, in what way? He said, so you're saying that you would sleep with me for dinner and a movie. I said, no, you're trying to play me. You're telling me I'm not even worth dinner and a movie, and you want me to sleep with you. Not happening, bro. And I was just coming off of a break, but I wasn't that broken up. So that fizzled out really quick. I was over it, caught a cab, went home. That was that. I spoke to him maybe 2 or 3 times after that, and he was over the conversation. He was like, yeah, let me holler at you later. So I kind of knew what that was. So that was that. So fast forward the following year, this guy is like trying to find me. I'm getting phone calls. He was looking for you. He asked about you. This. I'm like, why is this guy checking for me? Like, I don't know. I couldn't make it make sense, but I was like, okay, whatever. So then I ran into him one night in the club. He literally came in the woman's bathroom behind me and was like, you got to call me. We got a shot. Like, I'm a different dude. I got a lot more going on, blah, 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 blah. I was tripping. So I was like, okay. I mean, because by this time, the breakup that I was going through was official. I was like, all right, well, if he ain't looking for nothing, I guess I'm in the space he was back then now. So we chatted over the phone. He came over. We hung out and stuff like that. And so that was late January, February. And by April, he had borrowed my vehicle and he showed up to pick me up from work. And my vehicle was stacked from floor to ceiling with garbage bags of clothes. And I'm like, what's going on? Because he came inside. He says, listen, I don't have room for you in the car. And I'm just getting off. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I got a lot of stuff in the car. I just need to go drop it off to your apartment and then I'll come back and get you. I said, a lot of stuff or a lot of people? He's like, a lot of stuff. It's like, what stuff? He's like, my clothes. I'm like, what? He's like, but I'll be right back. So he leaves because, of course, he has my car. So he has my keys. Takes all of his clothes from wherever he was staying, drops it off to my house, come back and gets me. And I get there and he's unpacking. This never asked me, could he move in? Not once. Not once. We never even spoke about moving. We never even spoke about a relationship. And so I'm like, hey, I'm confused. What's going on? He's like, well, I've been here a lot of nights, 3 nights, 4 nights out of the week. I enjoy your company. You enjoy my company. I'm coming from, this distance all the way across town. It just would be better for me to commute from here. I might as well just stay here with you. You don't enjoy my company. And I'm like, well, yeah, he's unfolding and unpacking and I'm okay. And yeah, I help pay the bills and da 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 da. And well, I don't have much bills, but okay. And just that simple. He was in there, just like that. He was in there. It was crazy. Matter of fact, I don't even think it was April, y'all. In fact, I think it might have been March. I think in April, that's when I realized I didn't like him. I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't like this guy. I don't like nothing about this guy. All the charm had started to fizzle off. Because, they say you want to know a person, let him move in. So once he moved in and I saw how he moved, literally, I was like, yeah, this guy's got to go. So, needless to say, the dismissive avoidant in me kicked into full gear because at this point he's triggering me. He's showing me a lot of traits that directly connect to like abandonment issues, neglect issues. There was a lot of, because I was still in the headspace that we're not really in a relationship, that we're casual. But him living there made me feel like, so technically he has to respect us as a relationship, even though I'm not looking for a relationship. But he lives here, so he can't live here unless he's just going to be a roommate. But if he's living here, then that now makes him my man, which means now there's a lot of restrictions and boundaries that have to be put in place. And when I realized that he thought that he was the exception to the rule, he had to go. And it wasn't hard for me because I was a dismissive avoidant. So the more things he did, the easier it began. I packed them. I actually had them at the door for him shortly thereafter. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this. You have to go. And he left. He left. There wasn't a lot of push initially when he left, because he thought that I was going through a little phase. Like, yeah, you want me to leave? I'm going to go ahead and leave because you already got my stuff packed up, and pride ain't going to let me stand here and beg. So I'm going to go ahead and go. But you got my number. When you're ready for me to come back, just let me know. I was never ready for him to come back. So that's one of the times being a dismissive avoidant really, really saved me. It kind of did. But I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you about that later. But on the back end, it really did. It ended up being a blessing in disguise. But I don't want to hold you. I have been in your home too long. It is about that time. So I'm going to go ahead and get up out of your home, of course, until you invite me again. And you know I'm coming back. The Hurt, Hardened Healed Podcast is here to stay with your comments, your likes, and of course, subscribing. How could I leave you guys? Absolutely never. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the little notification bell just right on the side. That's going to let you know every time I upload a video. Now, I have changed the time. So I know that originally it was Mondays at noon, but now it is Mondays at 6 p.m. And we're just going to see how that works. I'm trying to be at a more convenient time for you guys so that we can really tap in. I love coming over. Don't y'all love having me in your home? Because I love being here. But I hear my ride calling me. So I'm going to go ahead, get up on out of here. And you know what I'm going to say. Until next time. Bye, loves. Now, if you enjoyed this episode of the Hurt, Hardened Healed Podcast, go ahead and subscribe, share with a friend, and turn on your notification button so that you don't miss an episode.